My name is Tracey, and here's the story about how my husband played me in Lost. I met my husband Brian in college when I was 18 and he was 19. It was a super meet-cute situation. Boy meets girl by running into her. I was on my way to English Lit, taking my sweet time, when this tall, roguishly handsome young man ran into me, knocking me off my feet in every sense of the word and sending my books flying everywhere. From that day forward, our orbits were intertwined. We got married after graduation, a small but beautiful ceremony with family and friends who witnessed our love story from the beginning and embarked on building a life together. I won't pretend our relationship was all sunshine and rainbows, but we built something strong and steady, or so I thought. We had our first child, the cutest baby that ever babied named Micah, last September, and I became a stay-at-home mom, just as we always planned. I would re-enter the workforce or start a business once he went to elementary school, and at the time of his birth, my husband and I had a nice chunk of money saved up in preparation for his arrival. My car was paid off, and so was our townhouse, with Brian's vehicle being the only thing left requiring payments. I paid for half of his truck up front for lower monthly payments and secured him a lower interest rate based on my credit. For context, I was a project manager for a major insurance company and made a good salary on top of generous annual bonuses. My husband is a successful electrician and owns his business. This brings you up to speed on our dynamic and finances. Giving birth was no small feat. I nearly died from sepsis after undergoing an emergency C-section. I also had other complications, but that's a story for another time. Today, I attended my last postpartum checkup and received the all clear. I was elated as I was finally feeling better and more than ready to be close to my husband again, if you know what I mean. I knew he would be working later than usual, but this was fine because I needed to prepare myself and the house for a long overdue date night. I pulled out all the stops and spared no expense. I got my hair, nails, and toes done, and let me tell you, the feet were borderline atrocious. I mean, it's hard to get a pedicure when you can barely walk, and I was down for 4 months after having Micah. During my hair appointment, I ordered the ingredients for Brian's favorite meal and dessert, along with liquid libations. I even stopped by this boutique I used to frequent pre-pregnancy and bought some sexy lingerie. I made it home a little after 1 o'clock, started the meal and bathed as it cooked and finished up. I slipped into something visually appealing and waited for my man to come home. My parents were nice enough to babysit our son, but I missed him every second he was gone. Brian arrived home and walked in to music softly playing from our favorite playlist, candles flickering in the dimly lit living room and dining room with the aroma of smothered oxtails, baked cabbage with smoked pork belly and andouille sausage, baked macaroni and cheese, my grandmother's recipe, green beans, and baked sweet honey garlic cornbread with a side of red velvet pound cake topped with a buttercream cheese icing. He placed his keys and phone on the console as I walked up to him and leaned in, placing a soft, sensual kiss on his lips. "Welcome home, baby. We have the house to ourselves," I said. Instead of the warm embrace I intended on receiving, I was met with coldness and detachment. I stepped back, sensing something was off. It was as if he developed X-ray vision, because he looked right through me and said, "I'm tired. It's been a long day. I'm about to shower and go to bed," and proceeded to walk off. I exclaimed, "Excuse me? Are you serious right now? I mean, look at me. Look at all I've prepared for us. Is this really your response?" He slowly turned to look at me and said, "The food smells delicious. I'll take some to work tomorrow. I already ate." Then ascended the stairs to our master bath. Sounds of our waterfall shower followed, and I stood there, rooted in the same spot, waiting to be watered. I finally gathered myself and began to blow out the candles when I noticed his phone on the console. Now, I'm usually not the type to breach my husband's privacy, but after he rejected me on every level, I surmised something wasn't right. To be honest, I'd felt something was off for a while, but chalked it up to pre-baby jitters and postpartum. I mean, I did almost die. I grabbed his phone and attempted to peruse its contents, but was met with a passcode lock, something we've never done. This only heightened my suspicions. It was a 4-digit numeric lock, so I thought, how hard could it be to crack? I tried 4 times to no avail. I didn't try the 5th time due to the "we will lock you out forever" warning message, deciding I would pay close attention to him the next time he used it. I begrudgingly packed him a lunch, put the food away, and cleaned up the kitchen. I then headed to our bedroom, where I found him rummaging through drawers and pockets of his discarded pants. After a few moments of watching him frantically search, I muttered, "It's downstairs on the console." I got ready for bed, and as I laid down, I thought to myself, I'm going to get into that phone if it's the last thing I do. The next morning, I was up with the birds, which is unusual as usually I'm asleep when he leaves for work. But there I was, wide awake when I saw him grab his phone off of the nightstand, entering passcode 128, bingo. As he scrolled, I noticed him stop on a message, smile warmly, and reply back. I found myself feeling jealous because what or who has you smiling and chuckling at your phone? I quickly put those thoughts aside in fear of spiraling. I also didn't want to alert him I was awake. As he walked to the bathroom, phone in hand, my thoughts began to race. He exited the bathroom. "Oh, you're awake. Good morning to you too. I have to get Micah from Mom and Dad's." "Oh," he said. "See you later." And with that, he was out the door. No kiss, no good morning, just coldness. I called my mother and informed her I'd be by to pick up my baby, Rose, and prepared for another day of housewifing. Later that evening, after inhaling a belly full of food, Brian fell asleep on the couch while watching sports recaps, leaving his phone unattended. I seized the opportunity, entered the passcode, and Viola, phone unlocked. I looked through his call log and text messages, but nothing suspicious stood out. I then checked his email, inbox, outbox, and junk, but my heart started racing as I opened the folder labeled VIP. That's when I found them, a slew of emails from another woman. It took everything in me not to scream and immediately confront him, but I whispered to myself, chess, not checkers. As I combed through the emails comprised of photos and long love letters between him and some woman named Jessica, I could feel my face get hot, but surprisingly, I didn't cry or scream. I just sat there, fixated on every word. This lady was a true poet, but so was my husband. There was a lot of talk of yearning to be together, so I began to think, maybe he's only having an emotional affair. I mean, cheating is cheating, but intercourse is something I could never get over. However, this changed when I opened an email from a month ago. I saw photos of them together at some private beach cottage. A smile adorned his lips and his eyes radiated carefree. I saw photos of them naked after what looked like a night full of lovemaking, videos of them interwoven, and words from him stating his heart belonged to her, and he couldn't wait to be with her exclusively. My blood began to boil, a volcano ready to erupt, but instead I took deep breaths in fear of hyperventilating and repeated to myself, chestnut checkers, chestnut checkers, chestnut checkers, like some mantra I just learned. I forwarded all the emails to myself, deleted every trace of doing so, and placed the phone back where I found it. I poured myself a glass of wine to settle my nerves and went upstairs to check on Micah. I needed to hold my son, my anchor. I needed to breathe in true, unconditional love and bear witness to true, unfettered innocence. The next morning, Brian rose, got ready for work, stating, "You're rising earlier than usual these days," as he gave me a dry-ass peck on the cheek. He left for the day under the assumption of business as usual, but little did he know, a storm was coming. I couldn't believe this man, my college sweetheart and love of my life, was cheating on me. Me, the mother of his child who almost died during birth. Me, the woman who was with him when he had absolutely nothing. Me, the woman who poured into him, supported him, told him no dream was too big or too small. Me, the woman who put herself on hold so he could reach his goals first and solidify his manhood, whatever the fuck that means. I was floored. And anger was an understatement. I wanted to burn the world to the ground. I wanted to see him suffer. 10 years with the same man? You think I wasn't attracted to another? Or other men didn't approach me, offering me the universe? But I could never. Later that morning, as I continued to read the emails I forwarded to myself, I learned he'd been carrying on this affair since before I became pregnant. And what I found next put my plan into motion. You see, this lady had it in her mind she was going to take my husband and my son. He told her he would gain sole custody and require require me to pay child support. He also told her about gaining access to a trust my late grandfather set up for me when I was a child, to be dispersed once I turned 30 in a couple of years. There were also a host of thank you emails for money he'd sent her. I sat there, mouth on the fucking floor, because not only did this man break his vows, but he wanted to kidnap my son and rob me too. I felt so disrespected and betrayed. What could I have possibly done to garner this much hate from this man who claimed to love me? Once I gathered my bearings, I began to go over our finances. We had separate bank accounts, 3 joint accounts, a joint savings for vacations and couple buys, a joint checking for bills and life expenses, and a joint savings for Micah's college fund. All accounts were above board except for the joint savings, which showed several small bank transfers not exceeding $500 to an account I didn't recognize. I immediately called my lawyer because, by all accounts, this man had me fucked up to the highest level of fucktivity. It was one thing for him to cheat, but to be giving this woman our hard-earned? No. I set up a meeting for the next day and requested for it to be someplace discreet, to which she obliged. I then tended to Micah, playing with my baby, feeding him, as this was the only way I could experience some sort of joy while enduring this madness. I arrived at a coffee shop on the outskirts of the city with Micah around 10:30 a.m. The meeting was set for 11. Early as always, Yelena stated as she walked up and embraced my son and I. I couldn't wait another minute, I said through tears, as I finally allowed myself to break in her arms. Yelena is more than an attorney. She's like a second mother to me. She and my mother are best friends, and she's been our family's attorney since she graduated law school from Brown, summa cum laude, just like her father before. She's known me since before I was born and is also my godmother. Now, I know you're thinking, why didn't I tell my own mother or father for that matter? Well, nothing would have stopped my mother from confronting Brian or my father from threatening his life, which would kill my plan before I ever put it into motion. I needed a cooler, more rational head, ergo Yelena.